There's a part now, as you're winding up this section of the beginning of the book, where you're taking these solo strolls on Clifton Beach, which is one of the most magnificent beaches in the world. I haven't traveled nearly as much as you, and I know you've traveled the world, but you have to agree. And that loneliness, that sadness, that feeling of, is this it? Just washes over you like a tidal wave. I mean, the way you write about it is quite sad, which is that knock on that gets you to say, you know, and then do what you do, which leads you to give it all up, which is, well, it was fucking, I mean, people must have thought you were out of your mind. How did your family handle that?
Yeah, no, I mean, just to talk about that walk on Clifton Beach, Leigh, I mean, that was just crazy. I mean, yeah, I agree, that's fuck. I mean, I've been 35 countries all around the world. Now I was there on between fourth and third beach, you know, and I was, you know, walking those beaches, and you know that setting is just unbelievable. But yeah, I just I call that my crushing rock bottom Clifton walk. You know, it was just the one day that I walked. I mean, I had many of those where I kind of felt like that, but this one day it was specifically bad, and it just hit me that I looked at all the stuff around me, you know, and you know, the white sand and the turquoise water and the Table Mountain eye up and all of that, you know, and I write about it in a book, and kind of realizing that this must be beautiful. People are talking about that this is beautiful, but I couldn't see the beauty of it at all. You know, it just totally went right over my head. I was like looking at it, and factually, okay, I can see, you know, almost like a robot. You know, like a robot would look at humanity and like, is this something beautiful? And you know, it's, you know, from an objective point of view, potentially. But for me, I couldn't see the beauty, and that's where I almost had that. You know, I just had, my gut was clenching, my chest was contracting, and I just knew I was in big shit. And then, yeah, you're right. People thought I was pretty crazy. And on one hand, they thought that. On the other hand, I must say, it was also a lot of support. But you know, from the people close to me. But broadly speaking, even the people close to me didn't really understand what was happening.
No, I can imagine a lot of people listening to you talk about that and thinking, you ungrateful bastard. You have everything. You're in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and that comes along with the whole idea. When you're living in a situation, you're living in a way where you're not present, where you can't find the gratitude and the joy.
Sure.
You know, it's interesting that word has been coming up a lot for me in the last few months. But the joy in life, so many of us at least go through a moment in our time here, or a longer time, where we are struggling to find that joy.
Yes, exactly. And you know, you're talking about, you know, so people often kind of, they miss this thing, you know. And they look at people with a lot of money, and I specifically don't actually have that anymore. I gave most of that back to universe before my start of my journey. You know, it's in the book. But just broadly speaking, you know, I know a lot of people with loads of money, and you know, some of them the most miserable people, you know, on the planet. You know, internally, you know, they may actually be nice with other people, but I can see they're very sad and miserable. So, frankly, money's got nothing to do with it. I mean, yes, you need to have at least something to eat in the day and have a warm shelter. But you know, there's a nice shelter there down the road there in Kalk Bay. I often walk past it, and I'm looking at it now, and I'm thinking, I could slide there. I could stay there if it's nice and warm there, and had something to eat. You know, so I'm jumping maybe right down to the end of the book, but you know. So you know, it's so much more beautiful to be where I am now than sitting with funds and sitting with loads of money, but the deep emptiness inside. And I think a lot of people, you know, especially people that don't have the money or feel that other people that have loads of money look at these people and think, oh yeah, you're lucky bastards. But you know, they don't know that it's totally irrelevant. It's irrelevant how much money you have and what your means are. Past a certain level of existence, it's totally irrelevant.